graduate teachers and a section of some religious groups in Ghana say they have not been consulted on the planned introduction of the controversial comprehensive sexuality education subject into public basic schools in the country. According to the UNFPA, research shows that the majority of adolescents lack the knowledge required to make decisions relating to the sexuality responsibly, leaving them vulnerable to coercion, sexually transmitted infections, and unintended pregnancy. Comprehensive sexuality education, they say, is to address this problem. While the public has generally not taken kindly to this development, here's President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabonu.
I have had countless reactions, complaints, even some of my members even accusing leadership that we were part of the decision to introduce these syllables, which of course I have indicated elsewhere that I have not been part of any decision to introduce anything. The fact of the matter is that people are concerned, people are disturbed, and the minds of those people have to be cleared on issues. I'm sure it is the beliefs and orientation of most people that is driving them to react on this issue. If the general sentiment of our members is that this is inappropriate, then we will have to issue a statement with regards to that. But I think that before we even get there, the Ghana Education Service and the curriculum people will have to sit and revisit this issue. Whether they like it or not, it has raised hue and cry. There is an international agenda championed by Caucasians and Westerners to ensure that they smuggle these LGBT, gay issues, lesbianism, and things to education worldwide. It didn't start today. It didn't start with Ghana. When you go to countries in Southern Africa, they are suffering some of these things. They finance programs, they finance projects, and cunningly introduce some of these issues. I have attended several international conferences, and LGBT, lesbianism, and gay issues have become very prominent in this. So it is a huge international agenda. You realize that hardly will an African head of state be interviewed by an international radio or television. Hardly will they not mention issues of LGBT. So that is the reason for which the leadership came. So it's an international agenda that we all have to be cautious that we don't get ourselves involved in.
Islamic scholar and spokesperson for Chief Imam Sheikh Shaibu Arimayao also said as far as the Muslim community is concerned, they have no knowledge of the intended introduction of comprehensive sexuality education.
The whole concept is new and very unfamiliar to our environment, and it's also in conflict with our traditions, even in terms of our religious diversity. There are certain virtues we hold in common, and matters of morality are things that almost all the religions agree on. So our traditions and values related to matters of the sex is something that we uphold dearly, and we think that is part and parcel and integral to our lives. So for such new concept to be introduced without broad consultation, for us to, one, understand the concept very well, two, to know where does it begin from. If we want to engage in sex education, where does it begin and where does it end? This framework has not been made clear, so we've just heard that this has been introduced, and I think that that is where I find the fault, and something needs to be done about it. I'm very convinced that no such consultation, broad consultation, has ever been done. I'm sure many will agree with me. We need to register our complete disapproval of it and let the authority understand that such things, particularly in Islamic schools, may not be approved and may not be accepted in our schools.
Let's now speak to Member of Parliament for Ashaiman and Ranking Member for the Education Committee of Parliament, Peter Nochu Kotwe. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for your time. We want to know, was your committee consulted before the guidelines on comprehensive sexuality education were developed?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaji. I want to set the record straight that as a committee, we have not been engaged or informed of this proposed comprehensive sexuality education in its form. We are also getting to know of it in the public domain, as many other Ghanaians have heard. And I want to say that as representatives of the people and as a committee, it should have been very good for us to be aware of what the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service is proposing for implementation in the country. But we are yet to even know the details as it's been speculated.
Since you heard of this, have you tried to consult the ministry or the Ghana Education Service?
No, I am now studying the document, and I think shortly I will be in a position to seek the probably explanation from the ministry or the GES. So by the close of the day, I hope to find out from them what information, what justification is there for the introduction of the CSE.
How do you feel, given the hue and cry in the public, knowing that you're a key stakeholder in this industry and you were not consulted?
Well, that is a surprise because as representatives of the people, we feel very strongly that any policy that is being introduced in this country that will have an effect on our people must be well informed. We must know much about it, so that when the people ask us, we will be in a position to explain it to them. But this is a situation where we don't know anything about it. So what are we going to tell the people?
From what you have read in the document,
the ministry should be able to explain further to us.
From what you have read in the document, Mr. Kotwe, is everything above board for you?
I am not even happy about the content of the document, because if you look at the document very carefully, there are a number of issues being raised over there. The right of the child to sexual education, that the child has the right to enjoy pleasurable sex. In fact, even at the stage at which it's being introduced, 4 years, kindergarten, what do you want the child to know about sexual education? You see, so those are issues that we need to be very careful about, because we should do things that will help us. We don't need to just import things from other cultures into our cultural system to have adverse effects for us in the years to come.
Thank you very much, Peter Kotwe, for joining us. He is the ranking member for the Education Committee in Parliament. Now, the UNFPA insists all interested parties have been consulted. Here's residents representative for Ghana, Ni Ojolape, speaking to me on the Super Morning Show.
This comprehensive sexuality education will give a girl and also the boys the required information, as I've talked to you about. It talks about self-confidence, assertiveness, ability to take responsibility. In short, it will largely prevent rape. It will prevent teenage pregnancy. It will also enable them to take on the issues of their hygiene and take it on as appropriate. So if adequate attention is paid to those issues, then we will have lower incidence of it. Now, this entire document, the issue of the rolling out of comprehensive sexuality education is not going to, it's not just going to be done by just imposing it on people, because they are what we call the gatekeepers, and you will need to talk to them. All the people, and I appreciate all the comments that have been made, and the passion and the concerns that have been raised about the issue of, oh, we don't want to teach our children bad things. I can tell you that I'm a father. I also don't want my children to be taught bad things. But I can tell you that the idea is within our society, we're going to reach out to those that we call the gatekeepers, that is the faith-based community, community leaders, parents too. We have there are programs that are going on, which I know which government is doing, is undertaking to engage everybody as appropriate within their context. But then the ultimate goal is to prevent this malice in the society. What we want to happen in this country in 15 years' time, we have to begin to look at it today. And if most of our population are young people, we have a population of young people that's about between 65 and 70% of young people. That means that it is young people between the ages of 25 and say 30 or 35 that are going to be driving this country. And given the population pyramid that we have presently now, that is the age group that will also be driving this country in another 10, 15 years. These guidelines encourages teachers to teach the students basic things that has to do with nurturing positive attitudes, self-respect, respect for others.
Away from that story, former President Rawlings says the creation of the Oti region out of the once Volta region is to the political advantage of the ruling NPP, justified by the NDC's neglect of the people for 8 years. He doubts the NDC's ability to win the 2020 elections. The former president says though some interest groups approached him to speak out against creation of the Oti region, he was constrained by reality of deprivation in the area. Mr. Rawlings was addressing the National Cadres Conference in Kumasi under the theme Effective Mobilization and Organization for Victory 2020, the role of cadres.
When some cadres came to see me about the division that was going to take place in Volta region, yeah, some of us, some chiefs and people, the politicians, we were speaking against it while some were for it. And as they all sat down, very angry, very serious-minded people like you, to come and see me about this issue, obviously expecting me to also say something about it. Instead, I took the trouble to look at them in the faces and ask them, considering the neglect, even in basic roads, that they suffered for almost 8 years, didn't you think a politician would take advantage of this situation? Of course. Yes, that was the reality. They kept quiet throughout.
We stay with party politics, and former municipal and district chief executives in the Upper West region had their pride and egos deflated when they were defeated during the New Patriotic Party parliamentary primaries held on Saturday. Out of the 5 MDCs that stood for the election, only the Dafiama Busie Isa district chief executive Nadi Imoro Sanda won. The results were just as shocking in Wa when the Wa municipal chief executive Tahiru Isahako Mumen lost to little-known chief executive officer of Haja Humu Foundation, Humu Audu. JoyNews' Upper West regional correspondent Rafik Salam brings you a wrap of what's transpired in the primaries in Upper West region.
A little over 3,000 delegates decided the fate of 24 aspirants and 6 orphan constituencies in the Upper West region. The biggest shock of all took place at the Wa campus of the University for Development Studies. Founder and Chief Executive Officer of Haja Umu Foundation, Umu Audu, pummeled 2-time parliamentary candidate of the party and now Wa Municipal Chief Executive Isakutayr Mumin in a primary that also had 3 other contestants. The Lemaire Vobile starlet polled 302 votes, whilst the Wa mayor polled 260 votes. Nuruddin Ahmed Furuko was one aspirant many expected to pull a surprise in the race, considering the high-profile persons that were part of his campaign. His best was 208 votes. Basiruddin Janet Bibi did not have the same luck that propelled her in the 2015 primary to lose by a whisker. She had 12 votes, whilst Abu Bakr Salfu Orson, who campaigned for the restoration of the heritage of the party, got 7 votes. Haja Umu Audu was grateful to the delegates.
It's time. What Central is saying, we need a survival. We need somebody who will move us. We need somebody who will bring people, empower them, give them jobs, push them, let them grow. I think this is a win to prove to both NDC and PP that we are all same. It's a win to make everybody know that people want change. People want a woman they want to try a woman too, because it has never happened before. And I pledge that I'm going to use all my connections that I have in Accra to get it down here to Wa Central.
In reality, there was a shadow candidate in the contest whose picture was not on the ballot paper. Constituency Chairman Ali Kamara has not hidden his dislike for Tari Saku movement and openly campaigned against him. Chairman Kamara accused the mayor of holding campaign funds to the detriment of the party, an allegation that the mayor's counsel denied. For Chairman Kamara, victory for any of the aspirants apart from Tari Saku movement was a victory for him. He got his wish answered in Haji Umu Audu. In solidarity, hundreds of MPP party supporters converged at the forecourt of his house at Zongo to celebrate the victory and also to renew their loyalty to him and the party. Former Jiruba NDC Member of Parliament, Paul Derogoba, has his parliamentary ambition now flamed up, but this time will run on the ticket of the MPP. He won a landslide victory against Jiruba Municipal Chief Executive Christine Bombaja Amadou. Now listen to this.
Nobody will believe it. Their battle is going to be like the Goliath and David tactics, and that one will happen come 2020. I don't even fear any candidate.
Interesting results coming out of the Upper West region. Still to come, 7 soldiers have been put before the Kaneshie District Court in connection with the alleged coup plot in Accra. There's more of that and everything else when we come back. Staying with us. Now, 7 soldiers have been put before the Kaneshie District Court in connection with the alleged coup plot in Accra. They are Seidu Abubakar, Lance Corporal Ali Solomon, Albert Baba Ibrahim, Godwin Ni Ankra, Sylvester Kpebu, WO2 Esther, and they have been charged with possession of explosive arms and ammunition without lawful authority. The senior military officer, Colonel Samuel Kojo Gameli, and the civilian employee of the Ghana Armed Forces, Gershon Akpa, were charged on Friday, September 27, for their role in what government says is an elaborate plot targeted as the presidency. Unquote. Details of this story and more shortly, but in the meantime, Special Prosecutor Martin Amidou has disclosed attempts by the Attorney General Gloria Ekufu to make him what he calls a, quote, lame duck prosecutor. In an interview with David Ampofo on Time with David talk show, he said he had a lot of confrontations with the Attorney General about the way they wanted to set up that office. Mr. Martin Amidou says he had not intervened and insisted the Special Prosecutor's Office would have existed, just a name.
It was a war which led to us getting the LIs made, because I had a lot of confrontations with the Attorney General.
LI being what? The
legislative instrument. About the way they wanted to set up the office. They wanted to set up the office as a lame duck, which I resisted. And there are exchanges of letters which proves it. Eventually, I got LIs which I thought could let us work. And this was only in December last year.
But in many respects, they've turned it into a lame duck office.
It's not lame duck.
So tell us what
as far as I'm concerned, as I've told you,
yes,
within the short time,
yes,
that is when I got into that office, I have 8 people in the courts.
Currently as we speak?
Currently as we speak.
And these are not, like you said earlier, you know, sometimes, let me be honest with you, there are people that think that you are there to prosecute people from the other side, not from the side of the government. These are people across board.
I never will prosecute one side. When I was invited for vetting, I told the whole of Ghanaians, crime will be crime. right? And I left government in 2012 precisely because people wanted me to prosecute the opposition alone and would not deal with their own.
And you don't do that.
I don't do that. Crime is crime. I have a conscience. I can't sleep if I chose only one group and left the other.
Away from that, families of two persons who reportedly died when a building collapsed on them at Jolu have thronged the site of the incident to demand answers from the authorities. The building under construction on the Jolu A and B school compound came crashing down on Saturday as some workers were on site. 9 others thought to have sustained injuries during the incident were treated at the Nyaho Hospital and discharged. Mother of one of the deceased, Mary Owari, has been speaking to JoyNews.
Saturday no ye man probi side nti fear ye na sikodu fie pen na menya call say incident dey si wo area hase nti no edan ebu omo ye adwuma wo dan bi abresan bi emu wo school mu hase nti ne dan no ebu nkwala bi so na me ba ne ka ho Fatima tie me yem hye me manye na me say bia nkwala ne do so de entumi nye se me ba no na bibi sa ato no afei me hwe na call no ba nti me frɛ bi sa etie mu na chese ampa se omo ne master ebe ye adwuma na omo chesel dan and the boys na chesel dan na ebi gina other side and ebi nso ewo ehonum so omugusu a omo chesel dan na no ne boy ba ko me ba no ne boy ba ko kana omo ti efom na omo chesel nti de omo hu ya ne se concrete na abu eba nti omo ti fom to omo ntumi anyom ho hwe ne begu omo so na at once ekun.
In summary, what she's just saying is that she had a phone call that her son was involved in this incident, and so they came to inquire. They were told that he and then his master and a few other contractors were on site here during a construction project when the concrete slabs came tumbling down and fell on them because they were on the ground floor of the structure, and so they were unable to escape. And
me see and say me ba no omo de ne call police hospital and and Monday ye ba na ya ba behwe de asi ne se omo de phone no be man na ye de ya kwakusi ana se de e be hu se ne e be no.
They've been told that their son is dead and his body has been taken to the police hospital, and that is why they are here today to attempt to see the way forward if they could get the body to go and then bury the dead.
Emotional moment there, and the Ayahuasca West Municipal Assembly says it has commissioned investigations into the building's collapse. Information officer at the Assembly, Phyllis Abalanta, tells JoyNews the structure in question was being constructed by a philanthropic group, Accra Friendship Group. And while the school is still in session after the weekend's disaster, she says an emergency MUSEC meeting recommended that the debris be cleared immediately to allow pupils return to school.
Luckily it was a weekend, so the students were not around. But as at that time, there were 15 people on site, and including the 15 people was the chairman of the Accra Friendship Group, those who are putting up the building for the municipality. And out of the 15 again, 4 escaped unhurt. 9 suffered various degrees of injuries. And as at yesterday, 8 were treated and discharged. 1 is still on admission at Nyawo, so we lost 2.
And as we speak, we do not know how the building came down.
As at now, we don't know, but investigation is still ongoing. It's a school premises, and because of the way it happened weekend, there were rumors that some of the teachers were there, they were hurt, and it brought fear to the parents. And because of that, we had to break the other part. As I told you, half of the building was down, so they had to bring down so that they can clear the debris from there, so that they will have a better serene for the students to come to school. So as at now, we've already been there. You know, the place has been cleared and there's no harm there.
Still live on JoyNews today. Now, water has over the years been a major problem in the Atebubu-Amanting municipality of the Bono East region. Residents of Amanting have to trek long distances in search of water. The situation, according to the people, sometimes prevents school-going children from going to school. They call on government to rehabilitate existing boreholes in the area to help address the situation. JoyNews' Anna Sabit visited the community and filed the following report.
Water, they say, is life, and it is universally acclaimed as the most important natural resource. Yet, to the people of Amanting here in the Bono East region, the struggles they go through on a daily basis in their quest to access this basic need is unbearable. The only source of potable drinking water for the people within this community is this borehole here. But even though we are yet to get to the dry season, this particular borehole here is drying up just like the many wells around, which constitutes about 90% of the community's water source. This man here couldn't hide his views upon spotting our camera. He laments the difficulties they go through in search of water. Water is really a scarce commodity here in Amanting. This is the only active water source we have here, but it has its own challenges. We drink dirty water as a result. Sometimes we get water from it, but due to the pressure exerted on it, it gets damaged easily. For 17-year-old Kofi, whom we met here waiting for some time to get water, his concern is the time one spends anytime he or she is in need of water. The water comes. You'll have to before you get water. Now we have to wait for some time. Ma Helda is a farmer. Though she has a well in her home, she's worried that even though we are yet to get into the dry season, the boreholes and the supporting wells around the area are already drying up. Now that the rains is stopping, we will not get water from the wells until the rains start again. During the dry season, we don't get much water. We may just get a bucket of water, and that ends it. She tells me that she gets worried each time there is water shortage because school-going children are heavily affected because they do not get water to bath for school. It gets difficult, very difficult. Sometimes even getting water for the kids to bath for school is a problem. Sometimes they don't even go to school because of lack of water. When it gets to those seasons, we sometimes sleep here till the next morning. Sometimes we spend 3 days in a queue. So if we don't do something about it, the children will not attend school. We have to buy water from outside at 30 Ghana cedis per barrel so the kids get to bath for school.
Still live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Daze. Coming up in business, National Petroleum Authority adopts strategy to deal with fuel adulteration. Daryl has those details.